Welcome to Barnyard Language, honest talk about running farms and raising families. We are Katie and Arlene, an Iowa sheep farmer and an Ontario dairy farmer, with 6 kids, 2 husbands, and a whole lot of chaos between us.
While this is a podcast for farm families, sometimes our content isn't for the whole family. So kick off your boots, reheat your coffee, and join us for some Barnyard Language.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Barnyard Language, the 2 weeks between updates version. In theory, this is going to give us more to talk about, but in practice, I'm not sure how that's actually going to work out for us. But since we last talked, the other Thanksgiving has happened. The American Thanksgiving happened. And so, Katie, what are you thankful for? How was the long weekend? What's new on the farm?
I'm thankful for having way too much food at Thanksgiving, having too many leftovers, and a lot of people crowded around a table that's not quite big enough is a really, really good problem to have. We have Thanksgiving with my in-laws every year because they live right across the road, and also they're lovely people. And we had some friends join us, which was nice. Folks who don't have family in town or, who had to work and couldn't travel, what have you. But it meant 2 extra adults and 2 extra kids, and I think they all had fun. Thursday is our normal knit night, and one of the people who came is one of my knit night friends, and my sister-in-law also crochets, so we had a little knit night after Thanksgiving dinner, which was lovely. It was nice to sit and craft and chat. And my friend Claire is a much more talented knitter than I am, so she fixed my problems, at least with my knitting, which was great, up to and including where I've been making the boy child a sweater, and I finally got to where you put the sleeves on, which was very exciting. It's the furthest I've ever gotten in a garment like this, which is certainly the most complex thing I've ever made. But I put the sleeve on backwards, so I had to take that all out, and it was just the most me-coded thing that I've done in a long time, which is always I'm notorious for accidentally going back the wrong direction in my knitting, because I'm working in and around, so it is possible to go back the other way accidentally. But this time I managed to go all the way inside out, which was a new one for me.
Oh, inside out, because I was wondering how a sleeve could be backwards, but inside out makes more sense.
Yeah, inside out. It's when you work in and around, usually it is all one stitch all the way down, or it's intentionally different stitches, but instead I can post a picture if anybody's really interested, but suffice it to say it was a very me-coded thing to do.
Sounds like for the knitters, this will make sense. For the rest of us, it doesn't really, but I got you. Your friend helped you out.
Yeah. For the knitters in the audience, instead of stockinette, it was reverse stockinette. So there's that. But I took it off and I fixed it, and hopefully the boy child will have a sweater by the end of the week, since he seems to think that it should have sleeves, which is probably a good choice. Other than that, working my way through the mountain of Thanksgiving leftovers, we're pretty well done with freezing things and that. On the farm, we got our first real snow. Friday into Saturday, we got about 8 inches of snow.
That's significant.
The cows are pretty excited about it. They like it, and it's nice to see that they're fat and sassy and hairy enough that, they're covered in snow and it's not melting, which is good. It's like the roof on your house. If snow stays on it, it means that it's well insulated. If snow melts right off, that means that it is not well insulated, and that is a problem. And also, generally, wet livestock is not healthy livestock. Other than fish, obviously, I don't know of any livestock that really do well with being damp.
Ducks, I guess. Geese.
Ducks, yes. Other than aquatic animals, I think we can generally say that wet livestock is not happy livestock. I got the bird feeders out. We've got some blue jays that they look like the Angry Birds from the game. They look like softballs with beaks, and wings. They're pretty fat little things. Other than that, the girl child is turning 9 this week, which seems absolutely impossible. So we're getting ready for that and getting ready for Christmas. We put the tree up this weekend, and that's about it. So, how are things at your place, Arlene?
Well, what's been going on lately? The royal flu mostly bypassed me, but hit my husband really hard. So he's been, other than working, mostly coughing and sleeping. So it's been quiet, I guess, quiet and not quiet, because I haven't actually seen a lot of him outside of working time, but hopefully he's on the mend. I helped a friend last weekend at a local Christmas tree farm. She's a caterer, and so I helped with a team of other people. She got a catering job for a company Christmas party at the Christmas tree farm for 650 people. So that was a significant crowd, and it's always interesting at the different techniques that are required for preparing food and keeping it somewhat warmish when you're serving it to people outside when it's below freezing. So that was an adventure. And that was kind of the first really Christmassy thing I've done so far. We have two birthdays. Actually, my daughter and Katie's daughter both have a birthday on the same day. So
Oh, that's right. I forgot they were birthday twins.
yeah, mine's turning 20, which is wild. And then my youngest is turning 11 a couple days later. So our tradition is usually the tree doesn't go up till after their birthdays. So no tree for us yet. And I think we will wait for my daughter to get home from university before we go pick one out. So that hasn't happened yet. I have not gotten up the motivation to pull out any of the other Christmas decor. There's a wreath up outside because I did buy a fresh one from a local fundraiser. So that's the extent of my Christmas decorating at this point. My mother-in-law has decorated the barn. She's much more into the Christmas spirit, I think, earlier than I am. So the barn looks great. Christmas lights aren't up because that's usually my husband's job, and he hasn't been feeling well, so they're not up yet. So I'll get there eventually. But yeah, I did do a little bit of Black Friday shopping. It's one of those weird Canadian things where we don't have Thanksgiving the same time as you, but we still have Black Friday. I don't know why. I think mostly because we just have a lot of American retailers and they just have transferred that tradition north. So yeah, did a bit of shopping, mostly the online version. Oh, and I did another trip to Toronto because why not? Why not go 3 times in 1 month? My second oldest, like I think I've mentioned before, we're in college tour time. He's in grade 12 and looking for schools for next year. So we went on another college tour, just him and I. So we went to Toronto, and they had a day off school, so we were able to fit it in on a Friday and then went into the city to go see a show. So he's a theater kid, more behind the scenes. He doesn't really enjoy acting, but he likes the creation of plays and putting those kinds of things on. So we went to go see the Queen musical, We Will Rock You. So it was fun. Great music, obviously. I mean, if you're going to the theater, that one, I would say my only review is that the plot was not really what you were going there for, but the music was great. So that was fun. And we felt very accomplished because we figured out the transit system to get ourselves there and back from our hotel. So country mice go to the city is always an adventure, but we made it happen. And I guess that's a lot of the main stuff. Farm wise, we have I think 7 or 8 to calve in the next few days. So a little bit of a baby boom for us. Um, I know we've talked about numbers before. We milk around 80 cows, so that is a significant number for us in a short amount of time. But for anyone who's also involved in show life, you need to have some beginning of December calves to choose from. So we're kind of in that stage right now. And yeah, I don't think there's too much else to update.
We did, I think this happened since our last update, but we did have our very last calf born. Um, she was AI'd, so she's Normandy Black Angus cross, and she is a teeny, teeny little calf who is possibly the fastest, most energetic calf in the whole crew. And they're out grazing corn stalks right now and cover crops, so there's turnips and things to pull up and eat. And with the snow especially, there's a lot of calves running one direction and running back the other direction, and cows kicking and frolicking, and lots of frolicking. It's good to see.
That sounds festive. All right, why don't we go ahead and introduce our guest for this week?
All right.
Today, we are excited to be talking to Susan Lester Ryan, who is joining us from Newfoundland. So we can now officially say, Katie, that we have had a guest from every province in Canada. And here's your quiz. How many Canadian provinces are there, Katie?
Not as many as I thought.
She's still not going to answer. So that's 10 provinces. We haven't had any territory farmers yet. I'm guessing there probably aren't too many in Nunavut, but maybe there are some in the others. I don't know. What do you think, Susan? Do you think there are any many territorial farmers?
I've met someone from the Yukon, but I can't say I've met anyone else from anywhere else. So
Yeah, we'll have to do some research on that. Yeah. Maybe some fisher people or something. They're still getting us food, but yeah, maybe not growing things. So, Susan, we always start our interviews with the same question as your intro to our listeners. So we're going to ask you, what are you growing? So most of our farmers tell us about crops and livestock, but they also tell us about kids and businesses and whatever else they're up to. So what are you growing?
okay, so we are in peak fall season here at Lester's Farm Market is who I represent. That's our family farm business that we have here. So our main focus is fruits and vegetables. So we grow over 100 different varieties of fruits and vegetables throughout our season. Right now, it's kind of like our season kind of goes like up and then it comes down pretty quick. So there's some crops that we're actually finished with. So things like our peas and beans are now done because we've had some frost. But there's a lot of pumpkins, a lot of the fall kind of root veggies harvested. Our market is still bursting with our farm fresh flavor. We're even still harvesting some strawberries now too, due to like a later variety and some high tunnels that we do or some mini tunnels. And I guess I also am growing future farmers. So I have two of my own little boys. I have a 3-year-old. He just turned 3 last week, and almost a year and a half old. So we're pretty busy on that front. And I guess also here on the farm too, I just had a school tour this morning. So hopefully I'm kind of engaging and growing people's minds as I talk to them with school tours. And then we also have our on-site kids program throughout the summer and the spring. So I always say I like to grow future farmers here. And we also like to do a lot of fall fun on our farm. So we kind of say that we grow family traditions for people as well.
That is a lot of different things. So I should say we're recording at the beginning of October. So this is like right in, we're getting close to Canadian Thanksgiving. This episode probably won't come out till a little bit later when I'm guessing there won't be as much going on. But yeah, you're right in the mix of all the fall stuff. So when it comes to all the different things that you're growing, how much land or like what does the physical geography of your farm look like? You said you have some tunnels, but is most of it started undercover, or how do you grow all of those different things?
It's a mishmash of everything, honestly. So we have about 100 and we just cleared some more land this year, actually. So I think we're up to about 150 acres that are farmable. Always looking for more, of course. And 150 acres, I know, is a small drop in the bucket for most larger farms across Canada. But for Newfoundland, it's pretty big. We're probably the most diverse and definitely probably the largest veggie farm on the east coast of the island. So some veggies we can do direct sow into the ground. Sometimes we don't get into the ground till closer to June. I think this year we were able to break ground late April and start planting out there mid-May. We had a bit of a warmer spring and it wasn't super wet. But we do also have 37 cold frames and greenhouses here that we use for starting our veggies. And then moving them out as transplants. But then we also use them for our flower production and some things like our tomatoes, cucumbers, a lot of our herbs, eggplant, peppers. We all start and finish them in our greenhouses. So it's nothing is the same. There's not one exact recipe for anything here. And even season to season and within the season, how we start our first lot of cabbage, for instance, we'll use like the blankets over them to help warm them up. Whereas our later crop, it just kind of goes in. It's, kind of fend for yourself situation. So it's a very big mixture of what we do here to survive in this weird climate that we grow.
Yeah. And then when it comes to actually selling, are you mostly people coming to you? Are you supplying grocery stores? What's the model for selling all the things that you're growing?
Yeah, so we have a market. So we sell probably like, I would say about 90% directly to our customers through our market. And then we do deal with a lot of local restaurants, which is fantastic because we're after learning a lot from them on how to use different things. And then we actually have gotten back into a bit of wholesaling to some grocery stores that they're trying to put a bigger emphasis on local around here when it comes to grocery stores, which is great. Um, so I guess a bit of a fun fact for us. So before my time, my parents are both from farming families, and when they moved back to Newfoundland from PEI, because they went there for a few years, kind of did some dabbled in cows and some dairy industry there. They moved back home, and both my parents really like growing, so they switched over to veggie farming in the 80s. And so back then, there wasn't the push here in Newfoundland for local. It was more so like the dollar, whatever was cheapest, they'd buy. And as you guys know, you got to plan for all that stuff back in the winter and the spring. So mom and dad and my brothers that were involved then, they would plan out for the summer. Mom would be walking through the summer in fields. There was beautiful heads of romaine, and none of the grocery stores were taking it because they could get it from XYZ at half the cost, but we couldn't even grow it for that price. So that's why we decided to, well, when I say we, it's my mom took a table to the side of the road, and she was like, if people can just see who's growing their food and taste the difference of like eating closest to home, there really is a difference. They'll appreciate it. There is a demand for this. So this was 1993. My dad was like, what are you doing, Mary? Like, what? Like, all right, bye. There's no stopping you. We all know there's no stopping you. So she went out, and sure enough, she's right. And that's why we have this market. So we still have some customers that come in now and remember mom being out at the side of the road. And we have a lot of the kids who she used to hand out carrots because, again, a lot of kids back in the 90s were like, well, carrots grow in a bag. Well, no, they come from a field. So, mom be passing out the carrots. And some of those people now are bringing their kids because they remember the lady who gave them a carrot. So although we got away from the wholesale because we didn't like what was happening, but now there is definitely a local push here, and I'm sure everywhere else too, which is great. So it kind of helps us sell our excess. So this year, for instance, we've had kind of a not super great year because of the drought that we had kind of like most of the summer. So a lot of our root veggies didn't really plump up to size. So if we have excess carrots, then we can offer those to some of the I keep saying restaurants, I mean grocery stores. So it just helps us kind of push off the stuff that we have excess that we know we wouldn't be able to sell in our market otherwise. So it's about only 5 to 7% of our sales go through the grocery stores now.
So, Susan, it sounds like you grew up in a farm family, but what is your ag background like? And real quick, is there actually a chicken wire print on the curtains behind your head? Is that what
It kind of looks like it doesn't. I know. I just noticed that too. I don't think it's intentional, but we can pretend that it's intentional.
I'm going to say it's intentional because it's real cute.
Yeah, I don't usually sit in this part. This isn't like my office, but it's much quieter than mine. So I'm like, I'm going to steal someone else's spot for now. But yeah, that's hilarious. I'll have to point that out to her. She'll find that very funny too.
Arlene, that's the map we should make is of where our guests find a hide to record. Because we've had people in their closets, barns, cars. That's the map we should be doing.
Yeah, the family minivan. Yeah.
It's hard to find a quiet spot on a farm, you would think. But, when you need to find a quiet spot, it's hard to come by for sure.
Yeah, that is true. So, Susan, did you think that you would always come back to farm, or were you one of those kids who wanted to get away from home and then the farm called you home, or what's your story when it comes to actually working with your family?
Well, I guess like most farm kids, I grew up and this was my first job. My first memories are being in the soil box before we had big soil machines. I remember mixing it up with my toys. Again, that's probably like my very first memories. I was probably maybe 3 or 4. So this was my first paying job. Although I did work before you got paid. I always joke around to the staff. I was like, I used to apparently I used to get paid 5 cents a strawberry quart when I was picking when I was 5 years old. I don't think I ever seen it first nor last, but here we are. Still came back, so it can't be that bad. This was my first job, a lot of my friends' first jobs. I actually just moved houses, and I don't know if you guys have them, but like the keepsake books from when you're going through like primary elementary school, and it's like your favorite memories or like what you want to be when you grow up. I just happened to flip through it, and it was like, I guess I was a bit naive when I was young, and probably still now. But it was like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And it was like farmer, teacher, dance teacher, piano teacher, like everything listed. But one thing that was consistent was always a farmer and a teacher. So I think I had always in my mind that I would be coming back here. The farm that I'm involved with, my family farm, has evolved a lot, and the demand for the farm has evolved a lot too, for the better. So I think in my head, I was like, yeah, I can kind of balance being a teacher and a farmer at the same time, you know?
Yeah, you've got summers off, so that's a big chunk of the time.
That's what I kind of thought. But you know, once I kind of hit high school, it was like, oh, this. I'm not really seeing any downtime for my parents. So like, but maybe that's just them. Maybe if I come in, then maybe I can kind of help alleviate some of that. And you know, so yeah, once I did my first degree, I went to university here at MUN. So that's like our in-province university. I did my first degree with Bachelor of Arts with English and biology. So, you know, kind of with the hopes of at least I'll be able to help write with the marketing, with any applications. And it's just good to have any kind of education. Both of our parents are very like, go get something. No one can take your education from you whenever you get it. It's up to you how you apply it. So, you know, kind of trying to integrate the words with the farming, kind of trying to engage people and get out there and be that voice for why farms are awesome and why people should get out and support them. Biology, of course, kind of goes hand in hand with growing too. So just even seeing those plants, seeing the changes, seeing what we can be doing better and whatnot. Still a lot to learn, of course. So I did that while working here, came back to the farm, worked full time for 3 or 4 years. And then I decided, yeah, this Little Lester's program, which is our on-site kids program, is certainly taking off. You know, there's already a couple hundred kids each year, and I want to make sure I'm doing a good job. I know that I can teach because I've taught dancing for, 6 or 7 years. And it's something that I was always kind of interested in. So I went back and did my primary elementary teaching degree. And since then, I've been back to the farm. So kind of been farming ever since I can remember, really. But it became very clear once I was like in my 20s that I was like, yeah, I don't think I can do both. Like even with summers off as a teacher and the kind of this somewhat slower season of a farmer, it's, you want that time to plan out. And I think there's a lot of opportunities here on our farm that kind of eat up the extra time that I thought I would have had to kind of, go teach. But I get the best of both worlds here because I'm involved with my family. I get to kind of create and dabble in things that I'm really interested in. I love flower time. I love educating kids, love being around the customers, that kind of thing. And then, yeah, just kind of integrate everything all in one. So it was, yeah, still very eye-opening every year. It's like, wow, here we are.
Yeah. And as much as you plan, there are always the things that don't go as planned and you can't predict, right?
No, exactly.
Yeah. So our Canadian listeners will know that Newfoundland is nicknamed the Rock, and for good reason, I think. And I think even as Canadians, a lot of us don't think of there being many farmers in Newfoundland. Can you describe what, I guess, both kind of the geography of where you live, because we have listeners kind of across the world at this point, and what the ag community is like where you are?
Yeah, so we are certainly the rock, and that is because when you dig into soil, there is mostly rocks.
If there's soil at all.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I don't know if you guys have ever driven across our province or not. It is a beautiful spot, very unique in the sense that there's trees growing in or growing off of rocks because, they've just had that's what's available. A lot of the land that we deal with, again, my brothers they do an excellent job. Not that I'm going to say it to their faces, but they do an excellent job out getting the land ready. There's a lot of spots here on the farm. So I'm a sixth generation farmer. Part of our farm is still the original farm that my great 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 grandfather started with. But of course, over time, we expand and move on. So they're after turning a lot of non-farmable land into very farmable land, very productive fields, which is great. When we dig into some of our new soils, or you're just out walking, just seeing what the soil is like, sometimes you're only getting 6 to 8 inches of soil, and that's still very rocky. A lot of our machines get dent and dinged every single season, lots of breakdowns. A lot of that also kind of impacts the storage. So, for instance, like our potatoes, when we first start harvesting our potatoes and our carrots, we do it by a smaller machine so that the skin that's not quite as thick doesn't damage those veggies. So it does take a bit more of a process to get those veggies earlier. So not only are you putting the blankets on, but you're using a different machine, or you're hauling by hand so that you're not going to damage those skins and help them have a shelf life. But then farming is ever evolving, and I think it's amazing, and it's it's just fantastic that there's so many people out there who want farming to grow, and they want a better future for farming. So there's so many new advancements. So I know our potato digger, for instance, I guess long story short, it kind of uses like a vacuum, which I'm sure big potato farmers know exactly what I'm talking about. But it's helping to separate the big rocks from the potatoes, and then in turn, it kind of helps us have a better product that we're storing, and then it allows us to have a better storage. So we are the rock. There is a lot of rocks, but we can grow things in there. It just sometimes we gotta figure out some ways around it. As for the farming community, I'm very fortunate that both my mom and my dad grew up in farming families. So my mom had a family, or yeah, there was 8 brothers and sisters with my mom. So 9 offspring from her parents. And then my dad, there was 6 of them. Now, with that, most of my mom's family stayed in farming, whether it be directly onto farms, starting their own, or mom came over and married another farmer. Her sister also married another farmer, that kind of thing. Or they're working into the government that deals with farmers. So all of them stayed in the farming industry. My dad's family, there's only him and his brother. His brother owns the dairy farm right next door to us, actually, that stayed in farming. Everyone else kind of moved on from it. Other than that, the average age for a farmer here in Newfoundland is well into their 60s. It's a very old age. We do have a pretty big push behind the government trying to get new farmers in. Which we do see a fair number of new entrants, whether it be someone who maybe they're new to Newfoundland, trying to start a farm, or they were doing something and decided, you know what, farming is my passion, I want to try it. So there is a good few new entrants. We just hope that, they stay beyond the 5 years, because it's hard. There's a lot of financial stress that people have. And it's hard here in Newfoundland to even get land, especially on our side of the island. On the West Coast, there's definitely a bit more, the climate's a bit better, a bit more consistent, and there's bigger farms out there, larger dairy farms, a few larger veggie farms. So it's not impossible to farm here. It's just, it certainly adds an extra layer of complexity to it when you're farming in Newfoundland.
That's right. And for people who haven't looked at a map yet, it's also only accessible by ferry when it comes to getting, say, new equipment, or, like those types of, if you're buying a new tractor or something, the only way to get it to Newfoundland is by water. So that adds to that financial and logistical piece too, I'm sure.
Yep. And even just getting seeds here, soil here, all of that is, the freight is just astronomical. Sometimes our suppliers look at us and they're like, we're really sorry. And it's like, you know what? That's it. But then also, it's not like we're the only industry having to deal with those freight charges, right? So it can be, a bit uh, unnerving looking at all those costs. But then it's like, you know what? Everyone else is also in the same boat if you're in this province. And you just do what has to work for you. You want to be able to be here for the next year. So it can't just be tunnel vision on, oh my God, look at these prices. How are we going to do? You just got to figure out a plan and evolve and adapt. And that's what you have to do.
Even when it comes to, say, like grocery store prices, I'm assuming that it's more expensive to buy a lot of things in Newfoundland than it would be on mainland Canada because of the freight and the distance.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's definitely, I'm seeing the gap getting closed more and more each year, which is great. And by that, I mean like a head of lettuce that we would offer versus something that comes in from California. That gap has certainly closed because of before what I would find people be coming in and let's say 10 years ago, because I think it has made a big change within those past 10 years. People would be like, well, I can get this at the grocery store for $2. Why are you selling it for $3.75? And then once you explain the process, it's kind of like, oh, so you're telling me that this lettuce is picked today. It's like, yes, that's why it looks like this. Like this is supposed to be green, not like white situation, right? So it definitely is a bit pricier to live here for, essentials. But again, it's not like it's one thing or the other. It's kind of right across the board. So I think just Newfoundlanders just kind of know and just gotta swallow it. That's the price of living here. There's some things that we don't have to experience because we live here, but then you got the prices, so all balances out, I suppose.
So then, Susan, did you bring a partner home with you onto this family compound? Or I'm always interested. We don't talk to as many women who are coming home to their home farms. And I find it really interesting just because so many of us are marrying into other. I mean, Arlene and I both married onto to other farms, right?
Okay. Yeah, so it's definitely I don't want to say weird. I guess I don't really have anything to compare it to because I don't really know anything else. And like my mom did the same thing. My mom came from a farm, married into another farm. So like she kind of knew the ins and outs of farming. Now, that being said, she always says how much things have changed over her lifetime. She's like, I hope it changes even more. Like, this is fantastic how much has changed in the 70 years that I've been alive. And for me, so where we're located, like, we're not really rural. You guys have probably heard of the famous George Street. So we're only like a 10-minute drive from George Street. Mount Pearl is where I would have grew up doing most of my activities and my schooling. That's only a 5-minute drive. So the city is kind of like, we have probably like 2 or 3 cities that are within a 5 to 10 minute drive from us, which is great for, marketing purposes and whatnot. But as for my husband, so we always went to school together, so we kind of knew each other. But he actually came to work on the farm. So when he was a teenager, this was his first job too, and just kind of ended up working with each other. And I was his boss, and I like to point that out sometimes that I was his boss at one point. But I think his family also were kind of involved with. Like his pop had his own businesses, so he was kind of used to seeing like the whole entrepreneurial spirit, getting used to the fact that sometimes you got to run off to a call or you got to answer on your days off. It's not really a set 9 to 5 situation. And he really likes being outside. So my husband, his name is Damien, he likes being outside. He likes being involved. He's an engineer, so he works off farm. But I think he has a lot of interests that kind of, I think he would have liked to grow up here, honestly. So I think the fact that we can have our boys, we just live down the road from our farm. We come up here basically any night it's nice out, and it's just like, this is nice. You're not stuck inside. You get to let them learn and explore kind of on their own in a safe environment. So that's how he was brought back to the compound. He came working for us first. He came willingly. I didn't have to bait him too much. But there's definitely times that it's like, I thought you're supposed to be off today. And it's like, yeah, but it's peak season. So, sometimes just a little reminder like that, and just trying to make sure that I myself kind of take a step back to be like, yeah, you know what, Susan, like maybe you should, in the wintertime, take a little more of a breather than, just try to work smarter, not harder all the time situation.
Well, I think that's one of the hardest things about farming is it's never done. Even if you finish X, there's still Y, Z, and all the numbers, coming up after it. And I just want to take a moment, for all of our grain farmers, and that 150 acres is quite small for grain farming or, range cattle or something. But having worked on a produce farm, 150 acres of produce is a metric shit ton of produce. I mean, that's a lot of carrots and potatoes and lettuce and that. And I think that's an important thing to call out that it's, that's a lot of produce.
Yeah, assuming it all grows anyways. Sometimes it doesn't, but yeah.
Yeah, but you at least planted it. So what happens afterwards? That you can't control all of that.
Yes, true. Yes.
I have some I don't want to say stupid American questions, some naive American questions. So when I Google Newfoundland, the first video that comes up is about yarn stores.
That's probably catered to your Google too, Katie, because that
Well, yeah, I was wondering how much of that is my algorithm and how much of that is like, are handcrafts a big thing up there? Do I need to be booking a plane ticket? Please say yes because it looks beautiful.
It is beautiful. And Newfoundland is pretty unique, as in there's definitely a lot of crafts that have been passed down, and like crocheting, knitting. That's definitely one of the things that is pretty big here. Like I know we actually have some local vendors here that will drop off like pumpkin hats and sweaters and things like that. Unfortunately, like I hope it's never a craft that's lost because it is really unique. And when you find like someone who really likes what they do and loves what they do, it just shows. But they're like, yeah, you grew up on wool mittens, wool socks, wool sweaters. Yeah.
Do you get much sheep production on the island then, or is that mostly imported?
So we do have sheep producers here. And actually, there's some sheep farmers. I don't know if you've ever seen or heard or not, but they'll actually raise their sheep on one of the smaller islands off of it. So they'll load up the sheep into a boat and then go on out, and they spend their summer holidays out there, and then they bring them back in the fall. So it's pretty unique. For the most part, I believe it's meat that they raise them for. I don't really know if there's much actual wool production happening here. So the flocks are pretty big, and they're spread throughout the island. So there is a good number, a good pocket here and there. But I don't think it would be, most of it would have to be brought in for the wool.
Okay, so next question. One of the first dogs I remember seeing that was not one of ours was a pair of Newfies. Is there a minimum dog size for your island? Like, is there some standard size they have to meet to even be allowed on the island? Or do people keep chihuahuas? I mean, for anyone who's not seen a Newfoundland, it's basically a black bear, but with more fur. Like, I feel like that's pretty accurate.
and friendlier.
Yeah, it is accurate. Yeah. Yeah, no, there's all shapes and sizes, but Newfoundland dogs are so sweet. They're so big. They're just like a big teddy bear. Well, a big black bear, there you go. Definitely not as frightening as them. But yeah, they're very sweet. We definitely do see a lot of them, and of course the Labrador dogs too. We see a lot of those as well.
I did see a video the other day of them using Newfies for rescue swimming out of helicopters, and those dogs were living their best lives so hard. Like, they just looked so happy. Okay, so also, when you Google Newfoundland, it looks a lot like Outlander, like Scottish Highland vibes. Exceptionally picturesque. What's the ugliest part of Newfoundland, and where are your strip malls? There have to be strip malls, right? Like, you have Taco Bell or some hideous, like, nail places, photocopy shops, like, I don't know, whatever you put in an ugly strip mall. Is there one somewhere?
There's definitely some of those. I mean, again, Newfoundland, like it is really pretty nature wise. And people who love that kind of thing, like this is definitely a spot for them. And if you're someone who likes to hike and walk, there's a lot of options for that. Where there's some mountains out on the west coast. There's beautiful trails that go right along the ocean, which is fantastic. Um, I guess for someone who's outdoorsy, the ugliest part would probably be the unpredictability of our weather. We have seen all four seasons in one day before, but then it's also kind of a bit of the charm. So, like, it's not necessarily the ugliest part. Um, as for ugliest things, oh man, oh man. I don't know if it's necessarily ugly, honestly. Like, there's definitely some spots that are a bit, we'll call them, they're a bit skeety. You want to make sure you hold your kids tight. You're holding your kid's hand. You don't look at people. But for the most part, we have a lot of best kind skeets, we call around here. So, they might dabble in a few things that are a little bit questionable for the average person, but they're really nice, would do anything for you. There's lots of those around, which is great. Would you want to get on their bad side? Probably not. Luckily, I am not on any of their bad sides, I don't think. Not that I know of, anyways. I think we're more so known for just like, we have places like Dildo and Conception Bay South and Conception Bay North. There's just, it's the charm in just like the quirkiness and like, what? There's that.
I think anyone who goes to Dildo has to get a picture with the sign. And like anyone who I know who's ever gone to Newfoundland, they're like, we stopped at Dildo to get a picture with the sign. I'm sure the locals are. It's a bit like the Schitt's Creek sign, like on the TV show, right? Like you just have to stop and take a picture with it.
Yeah, yeah. So there's definitely, Newfoundland has, so like where I'm to, there's probably half the population of Newfoundland, like within a 20-minute drive in any direction from me. And then as you go out through the highway, there's kind of like, there's a lot of outport communities, which outside looking in, someone might say, oh, what is that? But there's a lot of charm in those outport communities, like they are fishing the way that they have fished for generations, or they're still doing a backyard garden the way that so and so did back 100 years ago. So it's really hard to say what's ugly, because usually what's someone else would consider ugly, it's kind of like it's the charm of the place. That's the way I take it, anyways.
As a rural dweller myself, I will say that ugly only pertains to like, where you get like a strip of gas stations and like weird little smoke shops and like
Yeah. It's hard to put an exact name on that. I know if anyone's uh there definitely is. There's definitely some interesting combinations like of the strip malls. There's lots of different strip malls around, and some of them kind of, they're just a copy and paste over of the essential store, a little like craft store or something, and then something that you're like, is that a front for something or is that an actual business? Right. So there's always in like every separate one, there might be one that, again, I don't really see anyone going in and out. Like there's one restaurant on Kemet Road, and apparently it's still open, but I've never ever seen anyone actually go in and out. And when you do see a vehicle there, it's like fully blacked out windows, and you're like, I don't think you're selling food there, but yeah, I don't approve it.
I feel like maybe that's like the global constant is that it seems like pretty much every town has that one store that nobody knows what's going on, but occasionally the cops show up and the store disappears, and then another store that seems to be exactly the same thing opens up. And then eventually, like, you never see anyone go in and out, and then eventually maybe the cops show up again. So you're working with your parents and your brothers. Are there things, because you said you're the sixth generation on the farm, right? So are there intentional or unintentional choices that have been made to make it easier, more desirable, less horrifying to work with that much family?
I don't know. I think it all goes back to my parents, honestly. And I think it really does help that two of them came from farming families that, back when they were growing up, they're both born in the 50s. So I guess, 60s and 50s, 60s, 70s, they had their own farm chores that they were doing. So yeah, whatever my parents did to raise the three of us, they did an excellent job, I think. And maybe that's a little bit of a bias because I'm there. But I think when it comes to my parents, they never forced this on us. Like the three of us are here. So myself, my brother Brad, and my brother Chris are here because we want to be here, and the three of us really work together well. Sure, there's times that we're like, "Oh my god, you're an idiot today," but that's just brothers and sisters. Um, sure, there's still times that they try to tape my hands to my head, like they kind of do the work hard, play hard situation. Um, but I think the fact that our parents, okay, yeah, there's a summer job here. They didn't treat us, they didn't give us any special treatment. It was still like, okay, you were as an employee, like that's it. You'll get paid for your work, other than when I was 5, but whatever. I guess we'll let that one go under the bridge eventually.
Once you're a legal age to work, then you get paid.
Yeah, exactly. Then I get paid. So yeah, they kind of let us do our own thing. They always said it's here for you guys if you want it. If not, no worries. We will still be here for you for whatever you decide to do. So I think that meant a lot for three of us. And then there's a pretty big age gap between us. So me and my brother Chris, we're probably most alike. There's 14 years between us, and then there's 7 years between me and my brother Brad. I like to say that my parents stopped at perfection, but here we are. So the three of us kind of piece together. Brad is very like analytical. He kind of does all the accounting stuff for our firm. He kind of reels myself and Chris back in. I'm a bit more of the like creative educator person, so I deal a lot with the market things and the market staff. And then my brother Chris is a big dreamer. He goes to something, comes up with an idea, was like, let's try this. And I'm like, yes. And Brad's like, how much money is it going to cost? So it's a good balance between the
Do we need more insurance in order to do that thing?
yeah. So no, of course, Brad still has lots of great ideas and everything. He just has the ability to stop and actually think rationally and logically, whereas me and Chris are like, yeah, that would be so fun, let's do it. So I guess like the secret ingredient to us is the fact that mom and dad were so willing to have us involved if we wanted to be, and they wanted us to have our own little piece of the farm. So if you want to expand the crop line that we do, sure, but let's do it right and figure it out. And then, okay, if you want to add to the education part 2 here, okay, let's figure it out. We want to make fall bigger? Yes, but how? So we actually have a lunchtime meal every single day. We are spoiled. My mom cooks us lunch every single day. And then she also has dessert for us. She apologizes if she has to feed us cookies that she didn't make.
Wow. I would work there.
Yeah, she's fantastic.
Yeah.
Say I'm up for adoption. So
Yeah, I don't know how she does it, honestly. She's amazing what she does, but hopefully if I can do even a partial of what she does here, then we'll be okay. But she amazes me every day. So yeah, I guess we try to have good communication. Yes, that means that sometimes when we're having our meetings in the winters that someone leaves a table because someone is pissed off. Someone said something that you're like, are you serious? You're bringing this up now? But I feel like that's just comes hand in hand with running a business, running a farm business, being family. So I guess we all like each other enough that we still spend holidays together. We still spend birthdays together. And I think it's very important for us, like mom, like if there's a time that I'm like, well, he did this, like, doesn't he understand? Like that doesn't work. Cause sometimes you do just need to vent, and like me and mom work in the market. So she's kind of my venting person. And she's like, okay, but like, is that a big deal? Or can we fix it and figure this out? It's like, yeah, you're right. Because I want to be able to see them. I want my kids and their kids to be able to have a good relationship. And I think like bigger picture wise is always in the back of our minds of like, no matter how much we piss each other off, or I don't think you did the right thing here, but water on a duck's back, you know what? You're still my brother, still my sister, still my mom, my dad, whatever. Let's, you know, just move on. So that helps a lot.
That's a really important perspective to have.
I was going to say I think it's pretty telling, Susan, that you said, "Why are you such an idiot today?" Because I've met a fair number of farm families where if you've ever made more than one stupid decision, you are an idiot forever.
Right. Yeah. Never forget it.
That's so toxic and horrible, and it's great to see farm families remembering that the family is more important than any single farm decision, barring any really horribly reprehensible behavior.
Yeah, sure. So you were talking about having big ideas and trying new things. And I think that a lot of farms, especially if they're trying to figure out ways for more people to be involved or to be able to farm full time, they look into that diversification, agritourism, ag education side of things, because if they love farming, then obviously they want to share it with people. So if there was someone else who was thinking that that was something that they wanted to get into, what tips would you have for somebody who's looking into trying to figure out how to do that on their own farm?
Yeah, so I guess the main reason why we did it, well, no, there, I guess it's kind of like it's really tenfold when you add something like that outside of the main growing. So for us, it was it started with my mom and dad and the kids and probably 8 staff. We're now up to like so my mom and dad, and then my brother Chris and his family, my brother Brad and his family, and my family. So that's four main families that it's trying to support, and we have about 90 staff on peak season. So
Wow, yeah.
it was like, how can we diversify? Because if we have a year, like 2011 in July, we had 3 days of sun. That year, we grew 18,000 pumpkins as normal, like put in 18,000 plants in the ground. We had 200 that ripened. So, like, we had to find a way to extend our season so that we were constantly in our customers' mind. So, we wanted to make sure that there was a reason for people to visit us every season. And then we also wanted to have a way so that there was more, avenues for revenue, because if something fails or if more than one thing fails, okay, that's really crappy, but at least we have this coming up. So, let's just make sure we make smart decisions on that. And then, like, when it comes to agritourism, it's a great way to get people onto the farm, a great way to, again, have people have a reason to come visit you. And then you just make that connection with people. I think people really do like to know, especially now, like it seems like it's making that turn again where they want to have that face to face. They want to know who they're supporting and where they're going. Giving them that authentic farm fun experience when they're here really goes a long way for our customers. There's definitely things that we've tried to have here and it's like, oh yeah, no, let's not try that again. But we always like to start small and then build off of that. So let's see, like our field of fun, we call our agritourism area our field of fun. We had a corn maze. We put that up in like 2001 was our first ever corn maze, and it was the first ever here on the island because up to that point, most people didn't have success growing corn. Now we use cattle corn for our corn maze, so it was a big draw for people, and it was like, okay, cool, this is awesome. So I think the first year we might have even had it for free, which don't do it for free. If I was to give anyone advice, as soon as you start adding those things, don't offer it for free. There has to be a price to everything that you do. Because what happened, so we did the first year, I'm pretty sure free, or like it might have been $1 a person or something like that, like something really stupid low price. The next year, when we made it double the size and added in like a bridge and a few different things like that, and we charged like, I don't know, might have been $3 a person. We had people who go up one side, down the other, being like, well, last year it was free. Why do I'm not paying this? Blah 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 blah. Meanwhile, they had no problem going to a movie for, $7 to $10 at that point. So unfortunately, as soon as you start offering something for free, people always expect that it's going to be free. So whatever you add, like, start off with something that you think is achievable. We like to under promise, over deliver when it comes for us. So start small, make it not good, make it not great, make it excellent so that people are going and talking about it and they want to come back, but you need to charge for it. Your time, your space, it's all worth something. And you need to make sure all that extra thinking and planning and planting or whatever it is that you had to do, that has to be covered somewhere.
Yeah, that's a good point because sometimes it's the idea of, well, it's not really worth it, or I don't know if anyone will show up, that, or the imposter syndrome of who's even going to come? So if I charge, then they definitely won't. But yeah, if you don't charge for your time or staff or insurance, all of those things, then you're actually putting yourself more in the hole than if you hadn't done that thing in the first place. Can you tell us a little bit about your Little Lester's program? How do you set that up, and what kids are you reaching with that?
Yeah, so this was actually an idea that my brother Chris came to me and said, "Hey, you like kids? You like teaching things?" Yes, sure. He said, "What about like if we were to do some kind of on farm thing? Like we always have school tours coming, but is there any way we can have kids coming here?" I said, "Let's give it a try." So the first year, I had kind of thought it would only be like 20 kids. So I said, "Yeah, sure, we'll do it." So at that point, I was doing ages 5 to 10. So I set it up like because our season is so different, I didn't want it like a day camp. And then also staffing wise, it would have been a bit tricky for us. I didn't want myself to have to be there 5 days a week because then I couldn't help out with other things. So I set it up like they meet once a week, the same time each week for a set number of weeks. So the first year, I think we started, uh, late June, and they came all summer long. I charged all of $20 for it, and we had 50 people in total. So I was like, okay, this is pretty good. So that was, I think I just finished up my 15th year of it. No, 16th year of it. So now we're up to over probably like 500 kids a year. And I have ages 6 months all the way up to 13 years old. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. So, of course, what they're doing for the toddler years is much different than, the elementary school kids. But it's just a way for the kids to come in, experience the farm, and also get their parents involved too. So we're digging through soil as they're young kids. They're kind of, it's a little bit of sensory overload sometimes when they come to the farm. So we try to break it down. So we're digging through the soil, we're learning how to plant properly so that the kids hopefully, even if it's one kid out of 20 that I hook into, what, I really like growing my own things. That's fantastic. At least it's one kid out of 20. So the different age groups are responsible for planting their own things that then they get to take home and enjoy and take care of. Now, sometimes I still come in. I actually just finished up with a group 2 nights ago, and I said, "How's your corn plants going?" They're like, "Yeah, I'm just going to use it for decoration. I don't really like corn." I'm like, "You know what? That's fine. Now you know how it grows. You can show everyone that you grew it, and it's all about learning and kind of opening their eyes." What's really cool is that we actually have some people on staff now who were part of this Little Lester's program. They did the whole thing, and now they're back working with us. So it's like, okay, you know, like you clearly liked it enough that you want to come back and work here. So I'm really happy to see them. Makes me feel really old, but I really enjoy the fact that it's kind of full circle, and now they're helping kids learn about it, what they did too. So it's a lot of fun.
That is really neat.
I was going to say, this sounds like a solid camper to employee to potential in law situation. Like weed them out. I think the other nice thing about having a program that's once a week versus every day for a week is both for kids who are easily overwhelmed. I know my kids would have a hard time with a day camp like that. And if a kid's a total pain in the ass, you don't have to see him again for a week, which seems like it would be easier to cope with than having them all day, every day.
And when it comes to growing things, that is a more accurate reflection, right? Like they can come back the next week and see the progress of whatever they did or planted last week, like versus if you have them for 5 days or whatever and then they're gone. You've probably done different activities with them, but you don't get that growing season experience that you would if you've got a longer stretch of time.
Yeah, so like it kind of opens up the kids' eyes as to what goes into growing food here in Newfoundland, but then also their parents too. So now I'm getting their parents when they're dropping them off or picking them up. They're saying, "Hey, I'm growing carrots this year, like, and I'm noticing this." So like it's getting everyone involved, not just the kid who's sitting down learning with us. I mean, and usually they only come in for 45 minutes to like an hour and a half or so. So it's pretty compact. Like with my education background, I kind of figure out what we need to learn and how we're going to learn it. And of course, some of that's going to change with the kids because every kid's different. And I want to have it so that the kids want to come. And I'm really happy to say that we do have a big return rate. Like There's a lot of parents who are like, every Thursday morning, this kid is running to the door, like they want to be here. I'm like, that's fantastic. That's exactly what I want. Like, I want them to want to know how to grow their food. I want them to be excited about farming and growing, and I want them to come and get dirty on the farm and just have fun with me. So yeah.
So do you think, will you add like a lot of camps have some sort of like challenging leadership program for teenagers? Do you see like a future where you challenge them to balance the books or like deal with the family meeting or something as like like the Eagle Scout level of your program?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I think we'd need to get our ducks into a row more so before I could do that kind of thing.
That's when she gets them on. That's when she gets them on staff once they age out of the program, the good ones.
Yeah, there's been a few staff. So not only the ones who have been like through our little Lester's program, then they started working with us when they were like 15, 16 years old. Um, but now there's a lot of staff who usually we hire them in like as teenagers, and then they're here with us if they're staying here for college or university. We have them through that career, and then unfortunately, after 5 to 7 years, then that's it for them. We always see their faces in here, but they're not always packing carrots or planting with us. But sometimes what we're really fortunate to do is, they go and do their degree. They might be working here, or maybe they do their degree elsewhere, and they come back, and then they're coming back and they're helping us, which is fantastic. So we have a few staff on hand now. They're our managers, and they're after doing their business degrees. They're coming back and again make me feel very old. But beside that fact, they're just a wealth of knowledge, and it's like in today's world, you can't be in this industry and standing still. You have to constantly learn, and that means you got to kind of take that little chip off your shoulder, and you have to be able to learn from anyone and everyone who you meet and have on staff, or anyone that you're able to talk to. Just be a sponge.
Well, and you want those fresh teenager knees for field work. You don't want like old 20 something knees. You need those young people with the strong joints.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Yeah, especially in this fast-paced October that we're going into. Yeah, we need those quick, nimble people who can run from spot to spot. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, pumpkin pickers.
So we often ask our guests to reflect on when they became parents. And you said your kids are 3 and 1.5. Was that correct?
Yeah, almost 1.5. Yeah.
So you were at the busy phase, which lasts from there to what, like 23? I mean, when do we think that busy phase ends? We haven't gotten there yet. Um, what was that like bringing that? I think kids are maybe the one thing that is sometimes even less flexible than farming as to, how long you can put off a thing before it becomes a real problem.
Yeah. Boy, oh boy, it's kind of a blur, honestly. Like me and my husband, we sit down at the end of the night once the kids are gone to bed, and it's like sometimes you're just like, so this feels like the longest day, but also the shortest day in the entire world. How is that possible? And that's kind of what the whole past 3 years have felt like. Yeah. So for myself, I'm a huge planner. I really like to plan things as much as I can. I like to kind of have backup plans of backup plans so that, in this very unpredictable industry that we're involved with, and that, maybe there's a little bit of structure of something I can help, it just helps me get back on pace. So even as good of a planner as I am, and my husband's engineering part is also planning. So we had our kids in September and May, so right into both of the busy seasons. So even though we're supposed to be good at that stuff, not good at planning the kids anyway. So um, it was, again, I think I was and still am very naive as to what it all pieces together like. Um, my firstborn, I knew that he was coming out with a section on one date. I said, yeah, perfect. I got like 4 more days planning. I'm going to go to a wedding now. I'm going to go dance. Turns out I shouldn't have done that, because then he arrived 5 days earlier in an emergency C-section because he broke, water broke because I guess I danced him out. So then I was kind of like, oh, okay. Um, it's it's hard. And I don't think it's something that a lot of people are quite candid about. I think a lot of people feel like they need to get on and say like, oh yeah, everything is great, everything's going good. And I definitely did that for the first one too. Everything's fine. Yeah, I'm good. No, I'm definitely can come lift pumpkins 2 weeks after, had a major surgery. Um, but I think also being a bit stubborn is what you need to do in order to have kids and farm life work together. And you need to have that big community. My family is fantastic with helping out. My husband's fantastic with taking the kids on the really busy days. Um, the first little while, I, to be honest, I kind of felt helpless because I felt like I need to be here for this little person, but also I know that the farm is busy. I got to figure out something so that I can help whatever. But I am the only person who can, feed this baby. So, I had to let go of a few things. I'm still working on letting go of a few things. Um, but it certainly made me kind of take a step back and look at what I was doing and what I could check off my to do list every day that would make me feel, yes, okay, I can still do this. I did what I could do for the farm, and my children are still alive. They're fed. They might be dirty, but they're not hungry. They're safe. So, yeah, for anyone going into it, it's a wild ride. It's totally worth it, but you need to have those people and you need to have some kind of avenue for yourself, that whether it be checklists or getting in a walk or getting in a workout or going out and having a tea or whatever it is, you need to kind of have that little piece to help you reset each day, because it's a lot.
So, what does your current farm, childcare, family life um, schedule look like? I mean, I know it changes season to season, but how do you make it work at this point? Because it's easy to say, oh, the kids just work into your life, but the reality is, when you're working a full-time job on the farm, and that's what farm life is, the kids can't always be underfoot. So, how do you guys make it work right now?
Yeah. So again, big team. We lucked into getting a day home for our kids when they were young. So they both went to day home of someone that we knew. Fantastic. Um, when they were both like 14, 15 months old, which is, it's hard. It pulls in your heartstrings, but also they get to interact with other people. They're learning from someone else who, you know, because we all know kids are going to be their worst with their parents because they feel safest. So I've definitely noticed a big difference of my kids, even just their manners, when they started going to the day home. Just learning from someone else it goes such a long way with them. So currently, right now into the busy season, I'm working 6 days a week. My husband works five. He'll take one of the kids on Saturday, because of course Saturday's our busiest day here, or one of the busiest days. And then the other one will come to work with me. Sometimes he's in the back room, kind of chugging around. That's where we package up our veggies. Sometimes he's in the stroller with my mom, going out and checking on things. And during the week, they're either in daycare or day home. Outside of that, it's based on whatever we can manage, just kind of surviving the day, just get through day by day.
Yeah, that's what it takes, right?
So, Susan, I find it interesting to, how farm families, like, even though we might have 58 interesting fall activities or whatever seasonal activities, our kids still want to go to someone else's farm to do some other seasonal activity that we probably could do at home, but you gotta, like, the going is part of the excitement. So what other, not routines, what's the, oof, brain is not braining, traditions do you think you'll be building with your boys? Or will you just, like, drive them around in circles and then bring them back to the farm and pretend you're somewhere else?
Into the corn maze.
Into the gourmets. I think I'm fortunate right now that the two boys are just obsessed with the farm, and so we can get away with it. Um, but both my kids are pretty outdoorsy, and I think a lot of that has been because they've been, the first year and a few months of their life they were here on the farm with me, tagging along. Um, they both really like parks, but I'm like, well, we have slides. Do we really need to go to another park? There's slides right here. So there's definitely some things that, every now and then, okay, yeah, we'll go to another park. There's not really any other farms around us as such. So like what we do here is pretty unique for what my boys know anyways. Um, but yeah, they love going to a park. So every now and then, every Sunday morning, we have to go to a park. There's no questions asked. Has to happen. First thing we do Sunday mornings. That's fine. After that, we can kind of do whatever. But the two of them really like going in our side by side. We'll hop in the side by side, come up the street, go around the farm in the side by side, see what everything is, and then they just kind of like going in, checking on Pop, see what Pop's doing, see if they can help him. Hauling out some carrots the other day. They love doing that. Um, yeah, they're really hands on kids, and I'm hopeful that that means that they're going to be good little helpers once I can actually rely on them to help put things together in the back room or actually plant. So they've both dabbled in it, but a very short attention span at this point, of course. So hoping for big hopes and dreams for them.
Some free labor in that 5 to 12 range, right?
So, what's your favorite thing about raising kids on the farm and with that connection to ag? You've kind of answered that, but
Yeah, it's just the fact that they are. I think that they're going to be hardworking kids. I can see that like my kids love doing things. Of course, every now and then, like my oldest likes to sit down at the end of the day and just watch a show and a snack. He says, "Show and a snack." I'm like, all right.
That's how I like to end the day too. I'll be honest.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, right on, kid, right on. Yeah,
Yeah, a snack and a show, that's good for me too.
it's fantastic. But yeah, like just seeing, I hope that they get to appreciate like what we do here. And I hope that they're going to be good advocates for the farming industry, whether or not they want to continue with it or just, as they're going up through school, they're talking about it to their friends. Hopefully, them and their friends are going to work here. Um, I just really like the connection and being able to like kind of stand back. And those, it's crazy with, their ages. They're just so busy. My youngest started walking at 9 months old and he hasn't stopped since. And, whenever they're awake, there is no break. If there's two of them, you're just constantly going, which is so fun, but also really exhausting. But last night, for instance, we were up here and in around the pumpkins, and usually they're pushing each other and whatever. But for some reason or another, they decided to grab each other's hands and go look at things. And I was like, my husband and I just stood back and were like, this is what makes it worth it. Like these are the memories that we would not have if we were not part of the farm. So just having those memories, hopefully helping to build little people that are going to be good humans. That's what I'm hoping for and striving for.
Yeah, I think that's the goal, right? So what is your biggest parenting struggle these days?
I feel like just trying to balance it all. And I guess I feel like you're always going to be harder on yourself than what you actually need to be. And sometimes I do need to remind myself that, or, you know, um, so yeah, just going into the busy season, knowing how much of a demand it's like, okay, you got 4 to 6 weeks of push. Like you gotta put your head down, you know, if the weather is good, you got to make hay when the sun is shining situation when it comes to October. Um, so it's doing that and then also trying to be a role model for the staff that we have here because I want them to see that you can do it all. I want them to see that, you know what, guys, there's a lot of stuff going on everywhere, but like I'm still showing up, still putting best foot forward, but then also trying to put my best foot forward and be there for my kids and be there for my husband. Like, just it's not always going to be an even split. So trying to figure out where you can pull. And again, figuring out that checklist. Okay, what is important? What can I assign or what can I pass off to someone else to the many capable hands that are around here? I don't need to do it all. What can I do that I'm going to go home and say, you know what? Yes, I'm good for today. Let's start a new day tomorrow. So that's hard, but figuring it out, working on it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all of those things, right? And especially you're in the midst of the busiest probably the busiest stage of parenting when you've got two people who are moving in different directions that you're responsible for, plus the busyness of this season of farm life. So yeah, the seasons are the seasons are both there. What is a piece of parenting advice that you've learned along the way or someone has shared with you that stuck with you that you would want to share with another farming parent?
Uh, I heard once that kids will never remember the material things. They're going to remember the times that you get down and you spend time with them and play with them. So take them in the tractors, take them in the greenhouse, take them when you go planting. I think that's been some of my kids' favorite times is going in tractor rides with mom or pop, or hopefully eventually they'll go with uncles too. Um, you know, so it's just getting them involved is they don't want to miss out, and they want to be part of your world, so involve them. Find a safe way to do so, obviously, but involve them wherever you can. It will warm your heart to see them be involved with you.
Well, now I feel a little, yeah, it's hard to involve your kids when you have things to get done, but it's always a good reminder to work on it.
Oh, and without a doubt, do you get as much done when the kids are around? No, you don't. But like, it's
Yeah, there's a reason they're in daycare, but then, when they come home at the end of the day, if you've got a few moments, yeah, it's not you're not saying that it has to be every day all day, right? Like that's not achievable either. So,
Okay, so we ask all of our guests if you were going to dominate a category at the county fair, what would it be? And categories can be real or made up to ensure that you win.
whew, this is a tough one. However, I think, and this kind of came to my mind because one of the chefs, she was here, she ran our kitchen for a while, and then she kind of moved on, but she's never actually fully moved on. She's always been here doing her jams and her preserves and a few other things. So I said to her one day, actually, this is my brother Brad idea because he loves all things ooey gooey deliciousness. Because again, as I mentioned, we're spoiled. Our mom still cooks for us all the time. Anyways, he said, I really want cinnamon buns like what mom does, but I don't want mom to have to do them. And I was like, okay, well, I think I might have a solution to that. So I asked the chef, I said, would you mind trying to do like a few really tasty things that are homemade like our mom's? And she was like, yeah, sure. Okay. So I think I would dominate the taste testing category because anytime she has brought over a cinnamon bun, she brought over 12, definitely ate 6 of them. And then she's like, but this one is a slightly different recipe. So like it's pretty much the same. And I'm like, oh no, I still need to try it. So I think I would dominate the taste testing.
yeah. You could even be the cinnamon bun judge at the fair. That would be a sweet job.
That would be a dream job. I would love that. Yeah, that would be fantastic.
I look at those homecraft judges. I volunteer and help with the day of the judging at our local fair, and sometimes I'm jealous. But then they start to go through like the pickles, and I don't mind like a pickle, but I don't want to taste like 6 or 8 different kinds. I think that yeah, the baking section sure, but yeah, some of the other stuff I might want to opt out because there's only so many I can try those. I'm more of a sweet person.
Especially because you know that there are going to be some pickles in that group that are not good. And a not good cinnamon roll is not nearly as unpleasant as a not good
Yeah, that's
pickle.
right. Yeah, you're not gonna get botulism from a subpar cinnamon roll. It's probably more about appearance. It's probably still gonna taste pretty decent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so let me rephrase. I'm going to dominate the category taste testing of delicious bakery items, not a little. Yeah, we don't know what this is, but taste it. No, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the thing that your kid mixed up in the kitchen. Looks delicious.
Yeah, no, 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 definitely not, definitely not.
All right, we'll go ahead and move into our cussing and discussing segment. If you are a listener and want to submit yours, you can use our speak pipe or our email to submit them. Katie, what do you have to cuss and or discuss this week?
My precious baby angel daughter, who is almost 9, is at that peak naming things age. She's always been a namer. Every stuffed animal has always had a name. It's been a lot of, lammy, elephanty, those sort of super creative things. But now she's moved on to naming actual animals, which was okay when it was barn cats and like lambs that are going to go to slaughter.
Right, chickens that are wandering around and kind of look the same as each other.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, right now we have a barn cat named Pencil, which I find hilarious. But we also have Brownie, Chocolate Cake, Swirl, Twist, and Vanilla. I don't have any idea which of these cats is which.
Right, she's definitely got a theme though.
God forbid you call one the wrong name. So even that I've moved on from because they're barn cats, whatever. But my husband and I bought a new bull and 2 rams in the last 2 weeks. And my precious baby angel daughter has named them. I don't think she's named the bull yet, but I'm sure it's coming. She named our new rams. Oh, I'm trying to remember because I just forgot what she named the other one. She named my new ram Oreo. Like every 9-year-old girl,
Is he at least black and white?
he is black and white. But like every 9-year-old who has ever named anything that was black and white, she named him Oreo. And I cannot. I We're gonna have him for several years. I paid a lot of money for him. He cannot be named Oreo.
You're gonna veto the name.
And she's not having it. Like, it's not even like she's accepted my veto and is crushed. She's just not hearing it.
She just doesn't believe you. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just a whole thing. Susan, what do you have to cuss and discuss this week, besides your apparent lack of WD 40?
Oh, I've been trying to think of something on this, and I'm not really too sure what I can add in. Duh, 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 duh. Can you circle back to me? See if I can think of something else? Okay, great.
Yeah, we're going with similar, well, not completely similar. So naming conventions. If you've listened to the show for a while, we had a cow named Saturn who I hated because she was miserable, kicking disaster of a cow. So Susan, we were in a tie stall. We were a dairy farm tie stall. So she in particular was very good at aiming her feet in just the right way. And so we name our animals by year and by letter. So her daughter's name is Venus, and now her granddaughter, Astronomy, is also a miserable kicking um, disaster of a cow. And so this morning I got a real nice shot to the thigh, which was enjoyable. And she's right at the beginning of milking, so then I got to hobble through the rest of chores. But the other day, my husband, in good news, says, "Oh, we got a really good. We genomically test all of our heifers when they're born. So we got the genomic report back, and he said we got a really high score on this new calf. And he said, do you want to guess who she's out of?" And I was like, "Oh, let me guess." And so yeah, so Cassiopeia, the descendant of the most miserable cow in the barn, and so obviously crazy is hereditary. Like it's a heritable trait. Like they're all miserable. They all kick as soon as you try and approach them to get the milker on. And so I said, like, in the genomic report, is there a spot for that? Like, is there like a bitchiness scale, or like where do we? And he said, "Oh, I should look." And so he said, under milking ease, she actually has a decent score. So clearly it's not that. So I'm guessing milking ease must be like, maybe let down or teat placement or something. But yeah, they don't have ability to kick both you and the milker off on the genomic report. So, but we know it's heritable. So maybe I should talk to some scientists and see if they can give us a score on that.
Arlene, this feels like where we're going to win our Nobel Prize. Is on what is the genetic marker for pain in the assery?
Yeah, exactly. Will I actually be able to do that research? No, but I will suggest to a very smart person somewhere that they should investigate that further.
I'm sure we could collect a good research sample for them.
Yeah, yeah. I've got a family line. I'm sure a lot of dairy farmers do, right? It's like, and they seem to last forever. They're the ones that live the longest. They milk the best if you can keep the milker on. But yeah, just miserable. So that's my cussing for this week.
Yeah, at least for those of us who do natural service, our best cow has only thrown bulls for like the last 7 or 8 years.
Yes. Yeah, so I mean, like, but for us, like, the good animals were using sex semen, so your chances are pretty good that you're carrying that crazy right on through.
Yep. All right. Susan, do you have something to cuss and discuss?
Well, I guess to kind of go back with the naming situation. So we do have a petting barn here, and some of them we've had for like Eeyore, our donkey. He's 21 this year. Like, he can do whatever he wants because he's been here for 21 years. So each year we do have new little animals that we try to do, like, get the people involved, get the customers involved, or whether it be like a naming contest with like our just general population of our customers, or sometimes we do it through little Lesters. Um, but my niece is also very similar age. She's going to be 9 in December, so she also likes to name things. So I was like, perfect. I got this new little Jersey calf. She's so cute. We're going to put a name contest. Anyways, she had other plans for that. And I found out afterwards that she was like, I already got that one named. I was like, oh, do ya? She's like, yeah, it's Princess. And I'm like, well, that's funny because the people, they voted and they said it's latte because we got caramel as the mom and latte. It kind of goes hand in hand.
Yeah, it's logical. We've already involved the community.
Yeah, So, anyways, to her, it's not really a pet peeve. It's more like to her, it's Princess. To everyone else, it's Latte. So I don't have a sign up for the name. Everyone's like, "What's the name of the calf?" So I have to constantly tell people when I'm going by. But I'm like, you know what? If she wants to get involved and name it, I'm not. I feel wrong in saying no. You can't name it. But then also, it's like all these people is like this person who said Latte is like, I won the contest. I'm like, just don't say it.
Yeah, just don't say it while my niece is around. Princess Latte is not the worst.
Yeah, I think princess is a title anyway. It's like president, So I feel like Princess Latte would be fine.
Yeah, maybe we'll go with that. So yeah, it's definitely always, and I remember growing up, I would always name things too. So looking back, I'm like, yeah, I wonder how many times that my parents switched out the names of animals that. But I think that just kind of is part of growing up on the farm, like the excitement of getting to name something. So, but yeah, sometimes I think we could all use a little revamp on how we're naming things. We need to get the baby naming book out, I think, sometimes, and go from there. Yeah.
Yeah, the my mother-in-law always had a stack of them, and she laments the fact that now that we have, we've gone more broad, they're not all just girl names. So we just went with, the classics. But
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
so, Susan, if people want to look you up online, stop by if they're on a tour of Newfoundland, where should they find you on the internet?
Yeah, so we're very active on social media. So Lester's Farm Market, if you search that on Facebook or Instagram, we post every day at this point. And there's lots of things that we're getting tagged in as well. So even if you just search Lester's Farm Market, there's a few things that you'll get tagged in, or you'll see the tags. And then if they have any questions, they can always reach out. I'm usually the one who's answering the questions anyways. I always like to chat to customers and see new and old faces. So hopefully I'll be able to chat to someone there soon.
Thank you very much for coming on the show. It was great meeting you.
Yes, you too. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Susan.
Thank you for joining us on Barnyard Language. If you enjoy the show, please support us on Patreon with a donation.
Big thanks go out to our show editor, Krista Paffrath at the Rural Podcast Network.
Please rate and review the podcast wherever you listen, and follow the show so you never miss an episode.
If you want to connect with other farming families, join the private Barnyard Language Facebook group.
We are always in search of future guests for the podcast. If you or someone you know would like to chat with us, get in touch.